Hello everyone, this is Zach. Welcome back to the channel. It is 11:11 on a Friday night, so perfect time for us to make a YouTube video talking about ranges. I thought today's execution style was pretty interesting. Well, not interesting, but a good example of how I like to execute ranges and how I watch for algo reactions at ranges. I thought today's style of trading that we did can be used as a reference point for the future whenever I'm working with newer traders um, on how they can interact with ranges and see them. So before we even talk about what I traded, um, I want to talk about how I draw ranges. This is very important. I look at the market through the lens of auction market theory. I have a couple of videos talking about that, so go ahead, check those out if you haven't. But to give you a very quick bird's eye view of how I view markets is I I look for ranges, and I look for the markets to expand away from these ranges. This isn't a great color. Let me go with white. I look for the market to expand away from ranges and move towards new areas of balance, aka new ranges, or stay within their current range. So all I'm doing as a trader, for the most part, is I'm waiting for the edges of ranges and seeing, is this going to reverse back into the range, or is it going to break out away from the range to a new range? That's all I'm doing. And then when it comes to these levels, I start using tools like order flow and footprints and delta profiles, whatever. But really, all I'm doing is I'm waiting for the edges of ranges to make a decision. Is it going back inside the range, or is it going away? Very simply put, that's what I'm doing. How do I draw ranges? Now, there's a couple ways I do it. Sometimes I use volume profiles. Today, I'm specifically going to talk about how I use candle structure to draw ranges. What I like to do is I like to look for a large move to one direction and then a reversal area of that move. So where did someone say, when the price hit that, let me reverse it right away? I look for that area. So you can clearly see there's one here, right? And we know when the market comes back to this area, if it breaks down from here and keeps going, this will be your trend, right? It's like a bear flag, right? Or some people call it like an ABC pattern. If it breaks this and keeps going. But if it breaks this and then comes back inside, or if it just holds this, reverses at this point, now it's considered like a double bottom, right? Or a failed expansion. That's what we call it in auction theory. So I look for these areas in which there was a big reaction and I mark them off. So we have one here at the top and we have one at the bottom. And when the price transacts to these areas, I wait at the edges and I'm just watching order flow. And I'm seeing if they're going to break it and sell, and if I'm seeing signals of that, or if they're going to bring it back inside the middle. I have videos on order flow and watching for trapped buyers and sellers. You can go check that out if you need to. I'm not really going to talk too much about order flow today, just ranges on candlestick charts. But you can see this is very similar to a failed expansion, right? If I go to my Discord, let me pull that up very quick. Let's go here. You can see there's the range and the look below the range, which we call the failed expansion, or you can just call it a look below. That's fine as well. And then the reclaim of the range, and then it goes range, right? So the failed expansion, right? Now tell me, where do you see the failed expansion of this range? It's right here, right? Now we know, based off auction theory, that if there's a failed expansion and we go back inside the range, it's very likely that we rotate to the other side. But it's less likely that we completely rotate, although it is one of the plays. But it is extremely likely that we at least go to the middle, of this, right? So a lot of traders, when they play these, they target the middle to like maybe move their stops to break even or take a partial here, and then they hold a runner to the other side. Whatever you want to do, however you want to manage it, that's up to you. But that's how I draw ranges, okay? Now let's go ahead and draw a couple of ranges on this intraday chart. So we have that low, we have that high, there's your range. Let's go with perfect. So there's a range, and then there's a range here that I drew prior, and then there's a range here. Now the high here is a little bit contentious because you could say it's this, or you could say it's this. You know, like they came here, they tried to clear it, they struggled, and then they brought it back, and that's clearly the low, right? I'll keep. When it's a little bit confusing, I just turn the high into a zone. So I'll look at like both of these levels as like a price zone for them to retest. So you can see when they broke away from it, they retested it, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, okay, so we have another range right there. And then we have our final range up here. And you can even expand this range out to see how even when we re-enter the range, those levels are respected. Now let's see what I did, how I traded this range. Let me turn on my executions. So you can see that I recognized there was these ranges, and that when we were at this range right here, this one, once we started breaking away from this range and retesting it, now we call that a balance breakout here, balance breakout, break away from the balance, retest the high, and then we go. When we're doing that, right here, we're breaking out, and then we retest it somewhere in here, this zone. Once I get my confirmation, I take it long here, and I ride it to this purple level. And why this purple level? Well, very simply, it's the prior range low, right? Markets, if you watch the auction market theory video, they're in ranges. They move away from that range into the next range, and they keep doing that. That's the entire process of a market, of an auction, whatever. So you can see I took it long for the range breakout, and I closed the position there. I think that was like a 2.5 hour trade, something like that, 2 hour. And then since I had this zone marked, I knew that either this was the range high or it was this one. I went with the earlier one just because there were more reactions there. You could have waited for this one and you would have just gotten unlucky and it wouldn't have hit you, but that's completely fine. That's trading. Sometimes you miss the trades. Sometimes you get unlucky. Sometimes you mark things incorrectly or you mark them correctly and they just don't work out. Markets are not perfect. But I had my range marked correctly in this scenario. And when they came back to this range high, did a bigger retest, and I saw the order flow signals there, I took a long. So I took it one con long there, and I closed it for like 3R or 2R, 2.5R, something like that. Over there, I think my stop was somewhere over there. So you can see how I'm trading the balance breakout expansions from this range. Now you're gonna see me, and then what I started noticing here is let's just hide these drawings quickly. What I started noticing is there's a bit like another range kind of being developed here. And I think I had my low marked like that. And I tried shorting here. And I realized it's kind of a bad idea, so I cut it really quick for only a 5-point loss, which is only half an hour. Sometimes you don't take the best trades. That's completely fine. Just keep your losses small. I didn't read that too correctly, so um, took a little loss there, no problem. Two big wins and a very tiny loss. You can't complain. Okay, so then we got above this range, this purple line, right? The first range that we drew, we got above it there. And let's see what starts going on over there. Now it gets a little messy here. Why don't we go to a smaller chart, like a 500 tick, and see what it looks like? Because I got a little scalpy here. I began giving myself some luxuries. Sometimes I do that. I get chopped around if I do it too much, but I ended up surviving here. I'm pretty alright with that. But you can see here, why don't we look at it in the Discord, because I did mark it out. Now, all of these trades that I've taken, each one of them, when I entered them and when I exited them, I was calling them out. I was calling out my thought process of why I'm taking these trades. Like you can see, the second I take this trade, my stop and my target, I'm posting them. Did I take any more trades? Yeah, you can see I'm just talking about them. Taking another trade, I took it long there. Okay, so these are the trades that were in here. I marked them up on the Discord so it's easier to see. But you can see, again, we have a range, and I thought it was something like that. So I shorted the high, and then I got stopped for -5 points. No big deal. So I took -5 there. And then I tried a breakout long of the point of control. See, like here, I'm starting to get messy. These are execution errors rather than range ideas, but you can see, took a long, got stopped at break even, took it short here now for the balance breakout, or took it long for the reclaim of the range. And then I realized that's not a clean position, so I should just cut it. And then finally the failed expansion, the look below the range, and then are we going to expand away? Nope, the order flow signal is telling me we're going to go back inside. Okay, so I'll take it. I took it long there. My stop was like somewhere there, and I target there for like 3 to 1. So I close that for 3R. And then I let the range continue to develop. At the time, I had it drawn like this. Whoops. Like that. So now you can see here, let's go to a bigger chart again. Let's go 1,000 ticks. You can see we have this range right here, purple box. Once we break out from the range and retest the range low, I'm looking for them to continue to the downside back inside of this other range that's defined by that purple box. So I short it there, and then I take it off somewhere over there because I saw some absorption coming in, and I flip long and I take a small loss. So I made 2R and I lost 1R. So net 1R positive in that scenario. And then here, 1/2 R loss, break even, +3. So plus 2.5 in this area, +1 in this area, and then finally they do a deep test of the mid zone. I saw some absorption. I thought it was worth a small attempt with a really tight stop. I think it was like 8 points my stop, and I scaled out at like 2.5R, something like that. So even in this little sequence right here, that's a total of plus 2.5, 2.5 plus 1, 6.5R, right? Just scalping around these mini ranges. And then we had plus 2R there, plus 2R there, and then -1/2 R. So 6.5 plus 3.5, that's 7, that's 10R, right? Plus 10R worth of execution here. Just scalping around these little mini ranges. The concepts are simple. When it retests the range, I look for signals to buy it. When it tests it from the inside, I look for reasons to reverse it back inside. Really simple stuff. I hope you guys found that helpful. I'm kind of just freestyling here, so I don't really know how to structure my videos too perfectly yet. But eventually I'll get there, and we'll figure it out together. So, yeah, hope you guys found that helpful, and I will catch everyone in the Discord. Take it easy and peace out.